There's no doubt that the world is embracing behavioural science.
From finance to fast food, taxes to transport, nudges are cropping up just about everywhere.
Applying and testing the impact of behavioural science in business is something influencer work has been doing for years. But the scope of our work and behavioural science more generally goes far beyond its application to organisational and workplace challenges.
We've also been applying behavioural science to help tackle arguably the biggest problem that faces all of us, and that's the damage we're doing to our very own planet.
Climate change, the overuse of plastics, animal trafficking, deforestation, these seemingly diverse challenges actually share one thing in common. At their core, they are people problems caused by human behaviour.
But a single person acting alone will rarely have any meaningful impact. Lots and lots of people need to act to make a difference. This makes behaviour change in this context even more difficult. Another challenge with conservation is that the impact of changing our behaviour isn't immediately visible. Trying to change people's behaviour today is a bit like encouraging them to invest in a savings account where they may never experience a personal return. But here, we're not just investing in our own future, but the future of our planet. So while typical approaches to changing behaviour, like educating and incentivising people, is really important, they simply aren't enough in this case. But behavioural science offers us a solution.
For the last year, Elle and I have been working with a brilliant team of conservationists and activists working on some incredibly important projects across Southeast Asia. They are tackling challenges like stopping the smuggling and consumption of illegal ivory, as well as exotic animals such as pangolins and wild birds. Or in the case of Carmeli and her team, saving orangutans in Indonesia from deforestation and trafficking.
We are here in Kalimantan, which is the Indonesian part of Borneo, and we are running a rescue and rehabilitation center for orangutans, trying to save orangutans from extinction.
In response to these truly heartbreaking challenges, we developed an environmental behaviour change programme called C.A.R.I.N.G. C.A.R.I.N.G explores 6 of the most relevant insights from behavioural science for tackling these kinds of challenges and gives a process for applying them.
When developing this program, we found that some of the things we knew about changing behaviour from behavioural science were actually in direct conflict with the typical approaches that people working in this area were using. For example, many campaigns to get people to act have traditionally highlighted the increasing threat of extinction or the large number of animals and people involved in trafficking. However, behavioural science teaches us that this might actually be making the problem worse. Campaigns like these make the resource, in this case cute little baby orangutans, seem scarce, which increases demand. It also implies that the behaviour is widespread, allowing people to justify their actions. It's the same justification you might use when you steal a pen from the office because, well, everyone else is.
You can imagine how upsetting it could be for someone in conservation to discover that the communications that they've been using may actually be having a negative effect on the causes they feel so passionately about.
It is time for us, conservationists and people that are trying to fight to protect the environment, protect orangutans and other species, declining species. It is time for us to learn how we can influence people's behaviour, because if we are not able to change people's behaviour, we are going to fail, and we are going to continue failing. We are going to continue failing in preservation of the environment, in reducing the effects of climate change, and the protection of the habitats and the protection of the biodiversity. So this is how this C.A.R.I.N.G approach is so important.
Which is why we share a passion for teaching the C.A.R.I.N.G programme to people who are actually working on these incredibly important conservation challenges on the ground.
Beyond that, we're advocating for the wider use of behavioural science to help tackle some of the biggest challenges facing our planet now and in the future.
Ultimately, when we can change people's behaviour and we can make sure that people behave in the right way, I'm sure that we will be able to save orangutans.